Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they pledge you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we are continuing our journey through 1984 and into November of 1984 as we watch and discuss 3 more episodes of Muppet Babies. These ones are titled 8 Take Away 1 Equals Panic, What Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up, and Close Encounters of the Frog Kind.
Horrid titles, one and all.
What are you talking about? 8 Take Away 1 Equals Panic doesn't roll off the tongue?
What do you want to be when you grow up is not even a title, you know?
It's just the question that the Muppets ask themselves in the episode.
Yeah.
Well, I normally, at the beginning of an episode here, we talk about something not related to what we watched. But I can't this week, Sam.
Uh-oh.
I have to just talk about Muppet Babies because we'll talk in more detail of why this is the case. But I'm having the weirdest experience with watching this show.
Oh, no, it's breaking you. Already? We're only 1 season in.
I did the math. At one point, I'll mention at which point I did this, but there was a point at which I Googled, how many more episodes of Muppet Babies are there?
I started to count on my fingers how many more of Commitment episodes about Muppet Babies there was going to be, and then I was like, no. I'm out of fingers. I can't do this.
Yeah, we are currently 8.5% of the way through Muppet Babies after these 3 episodes. So not even 10% of the way through all of Muppet Babies.
We're effectively a Muppet Baby podcast.
The lovely thing about Muppet Babies is that it's interspersed with a lot of other things like Fraggle Rock and other things like Jim Henson Hour. And so we have a lot of other things.
Just not right now.
Right, yes. We will get like small spurts of Muppet Babies where we only talk about Muppet Babies for like a month, and then we get to move on for a while and come back to it when we least suspect it. It'll just blindside us and we'll be like,
okay.
They're back. These little freaks, as you said in your text to me last night. But we will, our next episode will actually be talking about the season finale, last few episodes of the season. And then we won't be talking about Muppet Babies again until December. And between now and then, we've got another season of Fraggle Rock to come back to. We've got Follow That Bird. We've got Little Muppet Monsters. And we've got our special Halloween Meet the Feebles episode, which I am
dreading it.
Fully not prepared for.
Have you seen that movie?
I haven't.
You're not going to like it.
I don't think so. Everything I've seen about it makes me think I'm not going to like it. I did have the moment, though, of realization where we were all like, holy shit, the Feebles are canon in the Muppets now because they referenced them in Muppets Mayhem.
Yeah.
But remember what Eric Jacobson recently told us? The Muppets Mayhem is a show that the actors and the performers of the Muppets are in. So
I don't subscribe to that because
Muppets Mayhem is not canon.
That's so malleable, you know? They can just decide next time that it is cemented into what is it in Spider-Man, Spider-Verse? It's a canon event or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It's wiggly until it's too solid to be wiggly anymore.
I guess we don't want it to be too solid. We don't ever want it to become too solid where the Feebles are actually on screen with Emmett Otter or something like that.
I don't want to spoil the end of Meet the Feebles, but I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Oh, no. It could be a prequel.
That's true.
But my biggest takeaway, I think, from this batch of Muppet Babies was that I feel like I'll be watching an episode, and the first half of an episode, I'm like, this is fascinatingly weird. Some of the things they're doing, some of the character choices they're making, some of the backstory they're adding. I love this. And then I look at how much time is remaining of an episode, and I realize we've still got 12 minutes left of an episode, and I'm like, how? How could there be more? You can just feel the stretching, and especially in like the last 5 minutes of every episode.
Yeah.
They toss in an extra fantasy sequence just to be like, yeah, we need more time to fill, I guess.
Yeah. And sometimes they just like stand there for a few extra seconds.
Especially in this first episode we'll talk about today. There's it kind of resolves itself around halfway through the episode, and then they're like, well, we got a lot more time, I guess. What do we do with this?
That's why everybody else is making 11-minute episodes.
Yeah, they should have just done 2 11-minute episodes packed into a half hour, but alas, they did not.
So what's your horrible realization?
Oh, yeah, the horrible realization was just how little we have watched so far, and how every episode, the formula is going to be the same. It's going to be half interesting, half boring, with a 50s doo-wop song tossed in for no reason.
How can they think of that many doo-wop songs?
Because as you said last episode, or 2 episodes ago, they're all the same song, Sam.
Yeah, that's true.
But we might as well get into it today. And Sam can tell the lovely people what we watched today.
Matt, I sure can. First, we watched 8 Take Away 1 equals Panic, a title which seems like it's a clever reference to something, isn't? I don't think it is, though, is it?
I mean, it could be something, from the 60s or 70s that we're
Something old
too young
we
to
don't
know.
Yeah. We're old, but we're not that old. Originally airing October 27th, 1984, the Muppet Babies overhear Nanny on the phone with a man named Mr. Jenkins, to whom she says she must, quote, get rid of one of them. The babies conclude that Nanny is preparing to get rid of one of the babies, so they ponder what life out on the streets alone will be like and imagine themselves as street urchins or living in garbage dumps before deciding that they can't take the anticipation anymore, and they will decide which one of them has to leave. Piggy rigs the vote so that Gonzo will be the one who's definitely exiled, but just as her deception is discovered, Nanny comes in and points out poor Fozzie sitting pathetically on a ratty armchair as the one who must be taken away. She leaves, and the babies, instead of making any attempt to fight for their friend, tell Fozzie that being alone isn't so bad and sing him a song about being alone. When Nanny returns with Mr. Jenkins, the reality of the situation sets in, and the babies tell them that she'll have to throw them all out if she wants to throw Fozzie out. Nanny is taken aback and says she'd never get rid of any of them. She just has too much furniture and needs to get rid of the nasty old armchair that Fozzie was sitting in. Next, we watched What Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up? Like I said, probably the worst title of any episode of any show I've ever seen in my life, which aired November 3rd, 1984. After playing surgeon, the babies start discussing what they want to be when they grow up. Fozzie obviously wants to be a comedian, Piggy wants to be a movie star, Scooter wants to be an astronaut, which... sorry, kid, that is not happening. But Kermit doesn't have a clue what he wants to be when he grows up. He goes through various fantasies where he's a fireman, an athlete, a celebrity, but they all turn out bad and leave Kermit more miserable than before. So the babies do what they always do when things are at their lowest. They sing a doo-wop song, and Kermit comes out of the other side of that, having decided to be a cab driver somehow. The other babies are a little confused by the choice and say some rude things about being a cab driver before Kermit takes them through a fantasy wherein he drives an astronaut to the moon and makes a $250,000 fare. Which, whatever. The babies then declare that it's okay to be whatever you want to be, no matter what anyone else thinks of it, which is the most underhanded insult of a moral that I've ever heard. Finally, we watched Close Encounters of the Frog Kind, which aired on November 10th, 1984. Nanny comes into the playroom and introduces everyone to Kermit's new nephew, Robin, who's a cute little tadpole in a fishbowl. Nanny leaves this delicate, squishy little creature alone with these horrible babies. Piggy tells Kermit that they're going to have tadpoles of their own one day and takes Robin out of his bowl so she can read him a story called Piggy in Wonderland and practice being a mom. The story concludes with Animal as a giant monster reaching down and grabbing Robin. Back in the real world, Animal actually has grabbed Robin and he climbs to the top of a bookcase with him. The babies are scared that Robin is about to be killed, but the two start having a baby talk conversation instead because they're both babies or something, or even more babies than the rest of the babies. Then the babies decide that they better put Robin back in his bowl before Nanny gets pissed, but Robin steals a functional toy car and makes a break for it, escaping into the book 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The babies follow him, go on an undersea adventure, and retrieve him, returning him to the fishbowl just as Nanny returns. Meanwhile, in the rest of the world, Ronald Reagan wins a second term as president in a landslide victory against Walter Mondale, and the movies Terminator and A Nightmare on Elm Street are released. Scary times out there.
Lots of nightmare fuel all around.
Lots of bad glimpses of the future. Yeah.
Not even saving your dreams.
I think that's interesting now that I think about it, because there was that episode where Beaker was being haunted by that slime monster.
Mm.
and it was in his dreams haunting him. And I said it was like Freddy because I assumed this movie had already come out.
And we had the Boober and Side Bottom situations that we talked about
we
too.
kept calling being Freddy.
Yeah.
And I'd say that's where they got the idea, but I would imagine that was being made at exactly the same time or was already done at this point.
Yeah, and I don't imagine, Wes Craven sitting around watching Fraggle Rock being like, I have the perfect twist on this.
Actually, I mean, why not?
What if I set that Muppet on fire and made him a terrible person?
But maybe that's where he got the idea. I don't know. There's no way to know for sure.
We got only one entry in Jim's journal from this time period. He wrote from November 6th through November 18th, 1984, in between London, New York, Toronto, California, New York, London.
What?
Yeah. So, in a 12-day span, he went from London to New York to Toronto to California, back to New York, and then back to London.
That seems bad for you.
People do it all the time. Athletes and stuff travel every day.
I guess that's true.
And they're way more fit than we are.
I bet Jim was too.
I mean, he was nice and lanky.
And he had that really strong arm,
That's true. Well, getting into this week's batch of episodes.
That was all he did?
I mean, I'm sure he did a lot during those 12 days, but he didn't write them down. I don't think he was just visiting London, New York, Toronto, California, New York, and London.
Maybe it was like an around the world in 80 days kind of situation. Oz has challenged me to the great race.
He could have added like Japan in there maybe to actually go around instead of going like halfway around and then going back.
He cheated.
Oh, look how fast I made it back to London in 12 days. But getting into the batch of episodes we watched this week on October 27th, 1984, 8 Takeaway 1 equals Panic aired. It starts off, the Muppets are pretending to run Muppet Airlines. We've talked previously about if these Muppet Babies know they're Muppets, and clearly they do.
Oh, yeah, because they refer to themselves as Muppets.
Multiple times in this batch of episodes, they say they are Muppets. I think they say Muppets Hospital and Muppets Airlines. So they know that they are different from other people in this world.
So I'd assume Nanny in this world is not a Muppet.
I don't think so.
So it's kind of like, okay, this always used to drive me fucking up the wall. Remember that show Bonkers?
The cat?
Bonkers.
Cop?
Yeah, totally nuts. Yeah. Bonkers was like set in the same world as Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where there were tunes and people,
Oh.
Because it was supposed to be a Roger Rabbit cartoon, but they changed it to Bonkers like at the last minute. So
feels like a poor choice.
Lucky, the human, I know a lot about Bonkers. Lucky was the human police guy. And in the show, he was a human, and they would say, we're tunes, you're a human. But he was a cartoon.
Right, he's animated.
Yes, so this leads to a similar question of if the Muppet Babies are animated Muppets, do they count? First of all, do they count as Muppets? And if Nanny is an animated character on Muppet Babies, is she a Muppet?
Well, I think there's something that happens in the second episode of this batch that might add fuel to the fire here.
Okay.
But we'll get to that.
I can't quite think of what it is, but okay. Go
For
ahead.
now, the Muppets are pretending that they're on a flight. Skeeter is the pilot. There's like a weird, again, one of those weird choices they make that I absolutely love. At one point, Skeeter says, "What's our compass reading, Gonzo?" And Gonzo looks down, and there's a little, anthropomorphized compass sitting there reading a newspaper. And Gonzo says, "I think he's reading the sports section."
I gotta admit, there was a couple jokes in this batch that got laughs out of me. Yeah. And that was definitely one of them.
Piggy is messing with the rules of the imagination a little bit here. She makes Fozzie imagine that she has food to hand out on the flight, but she will not take his imaginary money.
I think that's pretty smart.
But then the Muppets are interrupted when the phone rings.
Now, wait, I have a question for you.
Oh, yeah.
Gonzo jumps out of the plane at this point, and he lands amongst a bunch of penguins, and he says, only any landing you can walk away from is a good landing. And then all the penguins go, blah, and fall over. Why?
There's a few random penguin moments in this batch of episodes that I don't understand why they're there.
I guess there's random penguins in the Muppet Show, too.
But there's a mix of realistic-looking penguins and Muppet-looking penguins.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this episode also has a lot of moments that are very Monty Python, like, photo collage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. I like that, but it is a weird thing that there's a lot of photo collage penguins specifically.
It almost seems like they think about doing an interesting thing where all the babies' imaginations look different. And I think of Gonzo's as the Monty Python kind of thing, especially because of the dump scene in this, like when he lives in the dump.
We should
That
keep an
has a
eye
lot
on
of
that because there might be something to that there's like a sort of a collective imagination always looks fully, animated. But if it's
Yeah.
like specific Muppet, it might have a different style to it across all of them.
Right, because Animal does something later in like the last episode that is interesting for once in the show's life. Something interesting happens.
Well, their playtime is interrupted when they hear Mr. Jenkins call, and this is when Nanny does say, "I'm getting rid of one of them."
Yeah, I think it's funny that they hear the phone ring and they're like, "Let's go listen, little creeps."
Well, they don't have much going on in their lives, and Nanny doesn't seem
Yeah, that's true.
inspired to entertain them whatsoever.
Muppets don't need to eat or anything like that, so they're pretty easy to take care of.
I mean, she fed him breakfast last time, though. So
That's
we've
true.
se-
You can choose. It's like Data on. I think I've said this before, but it's like Data on Star Trek. He can eat, but he doesn't have to eat.
Well, the Muppets assume the worst, that one of them is going to go. Gonzo immediately is like, well, obviously it's going to be me because Nanny loves frogs. Everyone loves dumb bears, but Nanny doesn't even know what I am, he says. And then turns to us and says, what am I anyway?
Poor baby Gonzo. He's been going through it from an early age. Then immediately, two other completely unknowable creatures walk up and start talking to him, Scooter and Skeeter, but there's no thought as to what they could be.
Yeah, it is odd that we never question those kinds of Muppets.
Yeah.
Because they seem somewhat humanoid.
Okay, so Matt, which Muppet Baby would you get rid of?
I hate to say it, but I think it's Rolf at this point.
Why? Because he's kind of slacking, isn't he?
Yeah, I think Rolf does not have much to do in this show. And usually when he shows up, he's like, well, I could play piano if you want me to. I don't know what you want.
Song?
Please let me do something. But there's a couple points throughout these episodes where I noted, I was like, oh, Rolf, come on, buddy. Do something more than that. Offer some help.
That's very fitting for Rolf, though, don't you think?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, I feel like Rolf should be slightly older than the rest of them.
Uh-huh. So
Like,
it is
he
weird
should
he has
be-
a diaper on.
Yeah, but I feel like if they had made Rolf, like the Angelica of Muppet
Yeah.
Babies,
Yes.
he might be more interesting of a character. But right now, it just feels like one too many Muppet Babies.
Well, that's a horrible thing to say, that you would get rid of him because he's so cute. Isn't he
He's
so
very cute, and I'm sure they will give him some interesting storylines eventually. But right now, there's so many, like, obviously in animation, you'll have these scenes where characters are just, like, still while other things are happening, and they're not really, like, the character's just standing there to save time on animation.
Uh-huh.
Rolf is almost always that character.
Yeah.
He's just
Okay.
standing there, eyes wide open, just like, I have nothing to do here.
He's the cheapest one. You can't get rid of the cheapest one.
He's mostly one color when
Yeah.
they paint him.
No question, Skeeter, right out.
Wow.
Yeah. Muppet Show has proven you don't need Skeeter. You wouldn't mess anything up if Skeeter's not there.
Well, we then get into Piggy imagining what if she was the one who was going to be removed from the nursery in what might be my favorite imaginary scene so far.
I gotta hand it to Piggy. This sort of ruled.
Because she starts off, it seems like she's sleeping on the streets, trying to make a living selling lemonade, but it's too
Very
cold.
Dickensian looking street urchin.
Yeah. But, it's way too cold, so all she's selling is lemonade ice, which she quickly turns on her marketing brain and realizes she can sell lemonade ice.
Yeah.
And so her frozen lemonade business takes off. She opens her own shop. And then eventually she's in a giant tower with her face on top of it. But all throughout this, she's still missing her friends. This is the first time I noted in this batch, which is an interesting back and forth they do. In this imaginary sequence, you never see any human faces, much like Nanny. All the adult humans in this imaginary segment are like Nanny. They're cut off at the shoulders.
Yep. I wrote literally the exact same thing down. But we've seen adult faces previously.
And we will see some in this batch of episodes. Like it goes back and forth. So there doesn't really seem to be a consistency to it. And I don't think it's like who is imagining it, because the one I'm thinking of later is also a Piggy imagination.
Yeah. I would guess the people working on the show didn't care.
Yeah, that could be the case.
Did you note the condition of the furniture early in this episode?
I did not.
Okay, because I
Did
wrote
you?
down it looks like shit in there. What's Nanny doing? Why is everything all trashed all of a sudden?
So it worked for
Paid
you.
off later. It
Yeah.
worked for me. I was worried about the Muppet Babies, really.
Chekhov's rundown couch. But when Piggy is still missing her friends in her giant tower with her face on it, she calls and finds out that they've only sold $2 billion worth of lemonade ice that day. And she says, who's responsible for that? The president. Will fire him.
This was like Piggy. I mean, they kind of nail Piggy in general, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment in a later episode where Kermit, or maybe it's this one, I don't know, where Kermit is like, he's like telling them to do something and nobody listens to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Piggy's like, Kermit's the boss and what he says goes. And that to me was like a great that's a great character dynamic where Kermit's like this little sniveling guy who's like wants to be the boss, and Piggy is like actually like the tough boss who's just pretending not to be. I like that.
Yeah, there was another Piggy moment in the last episode of these three where she starts to tell the Piggy in Wonderland story, and Gonzo's like, don't you mean Alice? And she's like, if I met Alice, I would have said Alice, you nerd. I was like, that felt very much like a Miss Piggy Muppet Show tone.
Nerd is such a fun word too.
They throw it around a lot in this show.
And it's always so mean.
It's always like the worst thing you possibly could be called.
Yeah.
As we saw Scooter say, I'm a nerd with no talent.
Yeah.
Well, Gonzo does imagine what it would be like if he got thrown away by Nanny, and it's being literally thrown away into a trash can where he ends up at the dump.
Yeah.
There's a little rat who I was like, Rizzo? Is that you?
Yeah. We're just one hair away from Rizzo.
Mm-hmm. And then Gonzo loses his mind.
Well, he's there for 100 years.
But he loses his mind before he's there for 100 years.
That's true.
He makes garbage versions of all of his friends sitting around a table.
I love that.
I wrote in my notes at that point, I love this weird show.
Yeah, he's like, I can finally kiss Miss Piggy, made of a garbage bag with a can for a nose. And even that Miss Piggy beats him up, I think, right?
His imagination is only so strong. But he does even then turn to us and say, I think I've been living alone too long. And then it fades like if there's a commercial break. And I assumed, well, okay, we'll come back to the nursery. But no, we come back to the garbage dump. And we find out Gonzo's been living there for 100 years.
Terrific.
Since Nanny threw him out. And now he's got a long gray beard and glasses and cane. The rats also have long gray beards, glasses, and canes. And it turns out Nanny threw out the other Muppets as well at
She
this
got
point.
sick of him after 100 years.
Yeah, you'd think someone would have died in that time frame.
I would imagine Nanny
first.
Is pretty close, but
it kind of just goes nowhere after that. The other Muppets show up, and we come back to the nursery, and we learn, because Kermit says, we've been living together all our lives.
Yes.
And that's why he's afraid of them having to part ways with one of their friends, which is, again, a fascinating development in that that's not how nannies work.
And I think I've been thinking about this a lot. It's like when I think about the canon of Muppets, it is kind of silly and it is kind of like, well, why would you even think about that? There's no point in thinking about that. But somebody had to write this show, and I'm just so curious what the person writing who wrote every freaking episode of this show thought in his head their relationship was. I would just love to hear, very simply stated, why are they there?
Well, maybe one day we'll have them on if we're lucky. But I think you have to almost approach every Muppet project as its own world, and you have to create your own rules. I just watched an interview with Greta Gerwig where she was talking about Barbie in this kind of way, where she was like, she referenced some other movies that she watched where movies that made their own rules, and it's like, this is the way the universe works in our world. You just have to accept that in order to enjoy this movie. If you judge it against the real world, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So I feel like you kind of have to, it's like you're bonkers like situation where when you're watching that show, you have to accept that man is supposed to be a live human and not a cartoon man.
I know, but with that comes the balancing act of not doing not really, really breaking the sense of you can't introduce something that makes you go, what? Even in a crazy fantasy world, that doesn't make any sense, right?
I would challenge that with the idea of every comic book superhero ever.
But there's internal logic to a fantastical story. And even in superhero comic books, it's like there are arcs of comics that are hated because something happened that is out of character, something happened that breaks some previously established rule. Like,
And I think that's
it's
what's
just
happening with these
human.
Muppets sometimes is,
Oh, yeah. I don't even care about the Muppet Babies, how they relate to the rest of the Muppets. I just want to know why they live with Nanny. Even in this pocket universe where this is all that exists, I just want to know what this person would say if I asked him, who is Nanny? Where are their parents? And he might just say, oh, yeah, their parents come and pick them up, every night.
Or he'd say, oh, you haven't watched the whole series yet. We answered that in season 5.
We want you to be asking these questions. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah. That was their goal with Muppet Babies. It was a long, drawn-out mystery.
Slow burn, yeah.
This is the point in the episode where Piggy then rigs the system. She makes up a lottery system of pulling out marbles from a bag to get a fair system of who can leave. And it turns out it wasn't fair because she rigged it by saying the one who pulls the black marble out of this bag of red marbles is going home, or is going with Mr. Jenkins. And it turns out the entire bag was black marbles, and she gave it to Gonzo first.
Great plan, and it works perfectly.
It does. And there's a very notable moment for commitment listeners in this moment where Gonzo gets very sad that he's going to have to leave. And Piggy comforts him and says, poor Gonzy.
He's real. He's real.
Gonzy is real.
Did you pull that clip?
Not yet.
It's not kind of weird that Piggy has a bag of only black marbles, right?
She's been waiting for this very circumstance. Like, at some time, I'll be able to get rid of Gonzo, and I have the perfect plan. I just have to wait for my moment. At this point, it's, the episode's kind of slowing down a little bit. The Muppets are all just standing around going, there must be something we can do.
Uh-huh.
And Ralph says, let me think. And I thought for sure he was queuing up a song.
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. Because Mr. Jenkins shows up, clearly a Frank Welker character. Because he sounds like Fred from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And this is the moment where Fozzie is the one that gets picked because everyone is not a clear communicator in this show.
No.
And Nanny points right at him and says there simply isn't enough room in the nursery for everything. And Mr. Jenkins says, I'll pull my truck around and get the papers ready. And this is the point at which I wrote, how are there still 8 minutes left in this episode?
Oh my God, there were still 8 minutes.
Yeah. This is the 16-minute mark of a 24-minute episode. And I was just like,
Brutal.
this seems like we have 30 seconds of plot left to say, Nanny, don't take me. It's like, oh, Fozzie, he's just taking the chair. That's it.
We haven't heard our song yet.
That's true. And because they then also have to theorize what will happen to Fozzie now that he's being taken away. And they land on the fact that maybe he's going to end up in a zoo. And his friends promise to bring him peanuts every week. And when they visualize this, it's just them pelting him with peanuts from outside of the cage.
As he stands next to 2 photorealistic grizzly bears.
Yeah.
They're so like, I mean, this is, I guess, pretty accurate child stuff because they're so just like, well, see you later, sucker.
Yeah, I had to imagine I would, if I heard my mom say, oh yeah, we got to get rid of one of them. Like about, me and my sisters or whatever like that. I'd be like,
yeah,
is it me? Am I the one? Do I have to go? I was the last one, so I guess I'm the first out.
But if you knew it wasn't you, would you feel bad for your sister, or would you be like, all right, later days?
I mean, I had to imagine I would feel bad, but if I was also
I don't
3
know.
years
I don't know how
old,
kids work.
maybe not.
Yeah. I don't know how kids work.
Well, the Muppets decide to cheer Fozzie up with the song Table for One, where they repeatedly just sing, a table for one can be fun.
Yeah, you're going to be fine out there. We won't miss you. You're not going to miss us.
Yeah, lots of famous people flew solo, like Charles Lindbergh, Superman, Tarzan, and E.T.
I had a lot of issues with that.
I have one big one. What are your issues?
Well, Superman, Tarzan, and E.T. are all like, E.T. especially he needed a lot of help.
He didn't fly solo at all.
He was with a bunch of his friends in that spaceship.
His entire colony lived in that spaceship.
Yeah, actually his whole problem was that he was alone. That was the thing that was literally killing him.
Yeah.
Superman, famous for having many, many friends. The entire planet Earth, everyone loves Superman.
But at least he can fly.
And he's alone when he does it, I suppose.
You know who can't fly? Tarzan.
Tarzan can swing through the air.
Not the same.
But Tarzan also famously is best friends with a monkey. He's got a girlfriend.
I'm just saying, when you're trying to think of 4 examples of people who flew solo, maybe Tarzan doesn't make that list.
Superman, Tarzan. Well, it rhymes with Superman.
Oh, you're right.
So they had to.
And they really wait. They were like, Lindbergh is the first one. We got Lindbergh. We got footage of Lindbergh. This is going to be great. And they're like, we need some more things, I think. And so that's why they end on E.T.
Do kids, putting aside everything else about Charles Lindbergh, do kids know who Charles Lindbergh is?
I would have to imagine no. The only thing I knew about Lindbergh when I was a child was the Lindbergh baby, because it was referenced on Simpsons multiple times.
Yeah.
And so I knew that Lindbergh was a pilot and then his baby had been kidnapped, but I didn't know anything beyond that. But maybe I learned part of that from this.
Oh, could be. This is like the pre-Simpsons. You watch this first, and then you're ready to watch The Simpsons.
I mean, it has just as many pop culture references as The Simpsons does.
Yeah.
E.T. gets referenced 3 times in these 3 episodes. And then we get our filler imaginary segment of the episode, which this one's all about football for some reason.
Oh, I forgot about this one.
Yeah, I don't really know why this happens.
I fully didn't pay attention to what was going on. But I think this is when Kermit was like, I'm staying with you, bud.
Yes, this is when it ends up everyone decides to go with Fozzie. But the way to get there doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Because Fozzie's just like, I can play sports alone.
Yeah, and they're like, not really, though. You need a team. But it is cute that all the kids decide to go with Fozzie, and they all band together. But then I
do like that Kermit in this admits that Fozzie is his best friend. I feel like that is not something he generally will admit.
Yeah, I think in the past we have said that Fozzie would say Kermit's his best friend, but Kermit might not say the same about Fozzie. But that segment ends as Mr. Jenkins comes back, and we find out, womp womp, he's not taking Fozzie, he's taking the chair, because he has a store where he sells furniture that he restores.
Why does Nanny say that? She says part of in the beginning conversations, he's like, oh, they're just costing me too much money. What does that mean?
Does
about
she
the
say
chair?
That?
Yeah.
Oh.
How's the chair? I guess because you have to put patches. They're all
maybe
patched
she
up,
keeps restoring them, and she's tired of having to fix all these baby holes in
because of freaking baby
couches.
Because freaking baby animals eating all our chairs.
Animal has eaten 5 couches this week.
And also there's a lot of her saying I love you. That's also not how nannies work, right?
I think you're allowed to say I love you.
I don't know, man.
I think if you've been a nanny for a while and the kid's being like, I love our nanny, the nanny's not going to be like, whoa, boundaries, kid.
Professional boundaries. I don't know.
I think you're allowed to say I love you to your nanny.
Okay. That just pinged to me as something that was also like, I don't know. She's never going to let anybody take them away. They live with nanny full time, basically.
Yes. I still maintain this might be an orphanage and not a nanny situation. But
there's...
Is nanny a nun?
Kermit, okay. But Kermit has adult family members.
Yes, we will learn more about that soon. But for now, we get Nanny telling the kids to, hey, next time, before jumping to conclusions, maybe you just ask me what's going on. And they say okay. But I have to imagine that lesson is not going to be learned in future episodes.
Seems like actually the whole point of the entire show.
Yeah, it seems like maybe this show falls apart if every time they jump to conclusions, they go, wait. Let's just go ask Nanny what's going on.
Yeah. It's also maybe a bit of
fine.
A physician heal thyself situation where maybe Nanny needs to use a few more nouns when she's talking.
Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't apologize really and say, oh, my bad. I should have been clearer in the language I was using. Well, for some reason at the end of the episode, their thing where they talk to the camera, Gonzo asks if he can come live with us, the audience members, which he's pitching as a way to protect him from having to go live with Mr. Jenkins. But coming to live with us is the same exact problem
Yeah.
as moving out to go live with Mr. Jenkins.
Yeah. He's a weird guy, Matt.
I think that was my favorite of these 3 episodes that we watched, partially just for the weird-ass Gonzo in the dump scene.
The next one, literally completely pointless episode.
It's an extremely boring episode, so let's get into it. This one is called What Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up? And it aired on November 3rd, 1984. Starts off with Animal pretending to be an ambulance driver, driving around a little toy ambulance. They pull up to the hospital and Fozzie is the patient, Gonzo is the doctor, and this really felt like a good opportunity to bring in Dr. Bob.
Yeah, because they have Nurse Piggy.
Yeah, and they call her Nurse Piggy.
Uh-huh.
And Rolf again is just off to the side being like, I'm here too.
I didn't even think about the Dr. Bob thing, but it is really weird that they wouldn't just recreate Veterinarian's Hospital.
Well, I love the idea of when we read the Muppet comic strips, there was this weird side thing where Rolf was not only Dr. Bob, but then he was also like golfing all the time, like he was a real doctor.
He was like actually a doctor. Yeah.
And so I like the idea of baby Rolf having this persona he slips into where he's like, I'm going to pretend I'm Dr. Bob now.
Yeah, that would have been really great. It's like Lucy pretending, like Lucy when she's a psychiatrist or something.
I didn't not watch enough Lucy.
No, Lucy from Charlie Brown.
I love Lucy. I was
Lucy
like,
Van
did that
Pelt,
happen?
my friend. And Peanuts.
Not Lucy Ricardo.
No, but maybe she probably, that would be hilarious were she to do it though.
I don't think therapy was quite in back in the I Love Lucy days.
Okay, but Richie would come in and he'd lay on the couch and she would accidentally be sitting in the psychiatrist chair, but he wouldn't look somehow like they would miss each other. And
of
he'd
course.
be laying with his back to her and he'd be saying stuff and she'd be making the craziest faces. And she'd be being like, well, your wife couldn't really be that bad, right?
I love the idea that we're probably doing the exact same thing we did with SpongeBob again, where we're pitching an episode of a show that we haven't had a lot of exposure to. And if we looked it up, the writers probably did this 70 years ago.
Yeah, and this one also, we're writing a spec script for a show where everybody who worked on it has been dead for several decades.
In the doctor scene, they ask for anesthetic, and we get to see a clear line drawn between some of the babies here where Piggy asks for it. Scooter knows what it is, and Rolf has no idea what anesthetic is.
He's just a simple country dog.
But Fozzie, believing maybe he has been healed from his bad joke-itis, decides to tell a joke to see if he's been cured. And it makes all the babies in the make-believe nursery cry because his jokes are so bad.
Yeah, I wrote it. He tells a joke so bad it makes 100 babies cry. Probably the biggest damnation of Fozzie of all time.
Throughout this, Gonzo is pretending to golf because he knows that's what doctors do.
Yeah.
And at the end of this segment, he golfs a soccer ball right into Animal's gaping maw.
I love that an animal swallows it whole.
Just swallows it whole.
It's alarming. And this is when the episode's good and weird.
Yeah.
Then the
there's
episode
always
should
moments.
be over. Get out. Leave them wanting more.
Yeah, but instead, everyone starts talking about what they want to be when they grow up, and Gonzo decides, well, I want to be a dinosaur doctor.
Yeah.
And Scooter's like,
Because
hey.
it's plenty of time to golf.
Right.
If all your patients are dead. That's smart.
Piggy, of course, says she wants to be a movie star. Rolf says rock star. Skeeter says Olympic champion. Scooter says astronaut, and he wants to go to Mars, which is the first one that's sort of a red flag. The other ones, I'm like, those all line up with their characters.
Yeah.
Scooter, I'm like, I know your future, sir. You're going to be a gopher. You're going to be
Yes.
you're
It's
just a
sad.
stage
It's
manager.
much sadder than being an astronaut, my friend. Scooter would be big into, I think we've said this before too, Elon Musk. And he would be saying, sir, can I please get on the spaceship to Mars?
Let me go to
Please.
space.
My life is too horrible here.
Well, Animal says me be Martian. He wants to just be one of the Martians that Scooter's visiting. Fozzie, of course, says he'll be a comedian, and then Kermit doesn't know what he wants to be. But he says a fascinating sentence I didn't expect him to say.
What?
When they ask him, he goes, I was thinking maybe I'd create video games, but I'd rather play them.
That's
For
that's a weird thing to
1984,
say.
it's very interesting to have a character talk about potentially wanting to be a person who makes video games.
Yeah, because they only have Pac-Man.
They had and the idea of that being a career, I have to imagine would have been shunned if a child would have said, I want to grow up and make video games. You'd be like, that's a fad.
Yeah, you'd be like, I can't even comprehend what that could possibly mean.
No one makes video games. They just appear.
And you'd basically have to, at that point, I think, move to Japan probably to make like 90% of them.
Yeah. But it was an interesting insight into both, I think, the writer of the episode and also Baby Kermit.
The writer is just like, oh man, I wish I was doing anything else but this.
I want to make video games. But I'm also
But maybe
in the
they
same...
like went to the arcade and they just like, and they brought like, he brought like his spouse with him, and he just like shouted the episode to this, and they wrote it down while he was like playing Centipede or something, you know?
This makes me though excited to see the journey of the pop culture references that Muppet Babies will make.
Yeah, because they're going through a lot.
And specifically like a time period that we were born during.
Totally.
So it's going to go from 84 to 91. And so there's going to start to be more modern references. Again, like The Simpsons, where back in the day, nobody had cell phones on The Simpsons. And now, if you're telling the story of like when Marge and Homer met, it was only like 15 years ago. And so they met in the early 2000s.
Yeah, and they're listening to Sum 41 or something.
Oh, I want to see Warped Tour Marge.
Well, there was, what's the Homer when he's on tour and he gets shot in the belly?
That's
with
what the Smashing Pumpkins and U2. Back when they were all cool.
Right, and that was that was like the Warped Tour of its time.
I think
that
it was like
a
Live Aid or something.
Lollapalooza. I think it was Lollapalooza.
No.
Maybe.
And there was a Blink-182 episode at one point, but I still think that was even probably
Right.
15 or 20 years ago that happened.
Ugh, yowza. I wonder what, like, you know how when you're watching that show, the old references are always funnier than the ones that, like, you understand? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like cringy. I wonder if people who are old, when they hear like a 70s reference, they're like, oh, cringy.
Yeah, I wonder about that when I'm watching Golden Girls or Dick Van Dyke Show, because those shows have, what at the time were like pretty modern references.
Right.
And I watch it now and I have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, but it's fun to listen to him say it.
Yeah, the rhythm of what they're saying, I'm like, well, that's funny. I have no idea what that means though.
Yeah, and it somehow makes them sound really smart too. I think that's part of it. It's like a
Walter
old reference.
Mondale. It's like,
Yeah. But at the time, they could just be saying like, "Oh, I don't know any news people."
Be like, oh yeah,
The guy
like
with
Joe
white
Biden
hair.
in an ice cream cone. Am I right? You'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Old people, tell us what you think. Sound off, old people.
We need more old people in our email inbox, is what we're saying.
Yeah. Also interesting to make Kermit be the boring guy, but it also makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense to
boring.
me. Because also, it's like if you're imagining his future, he's gonna be like, I want to be Johnny Carson. I want to be the host of something.
That's true.
Like,
That's true.
what is like?
I suppose
Kermit's
you could also
career.
pull reporter. Could be something he would.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He does say I could be a baseball player because I'm pretty good at catching flies, and everyone groans, and they're disgusted by the idea of him
that's a
eating
pretty
flies.
good joke, actually. Yeah.
Well, but he's made
And
it
he'd
before.
He'd be a great baseball player too. He could jump so high.
Does jump very high in this episode.
Yeah.
Nanny pulls
Yeah,
down a
okay,
picture
go ahead.
book to help Kermit decide, what the hell is this book?
I don't remember the book.
Well, so she pulls down the book, and at first I thought this was going to be a photo album of like young Nanny, where we'd learn more about her and her life, because she sort of presents it as like a photo album and says like, hey, take a look through these photos and maybe you'll get an idea of what you want to be when you grow up. And I'm like, okay. They open it up, and the first photo is just a fire truck in this photo album. And later on, we find out there's bowlers and Olympians in this book.
Huh.
So this book is just a pictures of random jobs book.
Maybe bowler was like a coveted career in the early 80s.
I mean, bowling was definitely big at the time. Gonzo is stoked by the possibility of getting to get paid for rolling a ball across the floor for some reason. He's very excited by that.
Gonzo as a bowler makes a lot of sense. He wears a lot of shirts, modern day shirts that look like something that a bowler would wear, don't you think?
Yeah, I could see him and Fozzie being on a league. Scooter would be there too, just because they need another person. They didn't really want him.
Scooter's like the
He's-
Donnie of the Big Lebowski.
You beat me to it.
Shut the fuck up, Scooter.
I was literally just going to say he's the Steve Buscemi of the Muppets.
Yeah.
Well, Kermit calls Gonzo a little blue weirdo again while they're bowling. And this was, it was a little lessened for me the second time he says it now in the series, where I'm like, you've done it enough. Please, don't make this a running gag. It's not as funny as it was the first time.
Yeah, now it's just mean.
Yeah, and this is when the penguins show up again as the bowling pins for some reason.
That made me laugh when they jumped out of the way.
Well, yeah, but why are there photorealistic penguins here in 2 episodes in a row?
I think it's a Gonzo thing. We're gonna keep an eye out for penguins and Gonzo's fantasies.
It does seem like that, and it does just like go along with that sort of Gonzo's into birds kind of thing.
Really,
not chicken exclusive. And then we get a bizarre fantasy from Piggy, where she says maybe Kermit could be a movie star like her, and they imagine that they're showing up sort of at a premiere at Grauman's Chinese Theater, and guess who's there?
Freaking Tom Selleck shows up.
Freaking Tom Selleck shows up. And not just off-screen, not just cartoon Tom Selleck, real, living, human man Tom Selleck, blue-screened over a Muppet Babies cartoon background saying, "Oh, hi, Piggy. So good to see you."
Fantastic. And this will happen more, I think. I've seen
yes,
that there are
definitely.
other celebrity cameos.
Yeah, much like the pop culture references will change over the next few years, I think their budget also seems to increase, and they get more actors excited to be on, and not just they pulled Tom Selleck aside at a party and said, "Hey, say this real quick."
Tom Selleck's a great get, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, and like, to get him in your first season,
Yeah.
and a man who I don't think has really done anything else with the Muppets.
That makes me a little sad, because I would be like, I would like to meet the real Miss Piggy, please.
I'm looking at Muppet Wiki, and it does not seem like we will see Tom Selleck again with the Muppets, except
This is the... Oh.
they use a shortened version of the same footage from this of him just saying Piggy's name in a later episode of Muppet Babies. So
When they start getting their budget slashed a bit, maybe.
yeah, where we'll also see Dr. Teeth. I've learned too much.
Ew, don't look.
We see real puppet Dr. Teeth.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah, I'm not ready for that. Thankfully, we have years until we get there. Kermit wants to greet a celebrity as well, and he sees Drew Barrymore in E.T. screaming at the top of her
She just
lungs.
screams at his face.
Mhm.
But it's a clip from E.T. of her screaming at E.T.
Yeah. Kermit is really a loser in this segment. Not only does she just get screamed at by a little girl, but after Piggy puts her nose print and signature into the cement, Kermit just haphazardly walks through it and messes up her entire day. And this feels like a sadder Kermit than we've ever seen,
He's at his lowest in this episode.
but not in a way that's compelling at all.
It's just kind of mildly pathetic.
hmm But throughout this Hollywood fantasy is when we see a ton of adults and their faces.
Yeah.
In that terrible style that we saw when we saw the adults on the TV commercials that the kids were watching in one of the early episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And it does seem like there's 2 different kinds of adults on Muppet Babies. There are like the full-grown, more like realistically drawn nanny adults that we don't see their heads. And then there's these sort of caricature, cartoony humans that show up in some of the fantasies or on TV.
That are like Muppet adjacent.
Yeah. But some of
But
them
so
are very
skin
much
color.
not. Like some of them just kind of look like generic cartoon human. But really all this episode is segment after segment of, but what if this? But what if this? And the next but what if this is Skeeter imagining Kermit could be an Olympian, which is also in the book somehow with fire trucks and bowlers. And Kermit, instead of doing the long jump, just jumps straight up in the air and pops a blimp.
I thought that was really funny. The timing of it seemed maybe accidental, but it was hilarious.
He then tries competing in bike racing, but is on a tricycle. And
Why wouldn't a tricycle go faster?
Because he's tiny and has tiny baby legs.
But if you were at the Tour de France and you had a tricycle, could it go faster than a bike?
I don't think
Probably
so.
not.
It's
Probably
not as streamlined. The aerodynamics are
Not as
wider.
streamlined.
And like,
Yeah.
there was back in the day, Sam, there were some F1 cars that tried to have 6 wheels.
Oh,
Yeah, they look
that seems
wild.
bad. Were they fast?
They actually weren't that bad, but they weren't that great either. So it's I think one was really good, and then other ones tried to copycat it and weren't very good. So they kind of eventually were just like, hey, you got to have 4 wheels. Come on.
Wow. The old-timey ones look cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think it would work in a tricycle with a baby at the Olympics. It seems like it wouldn't. But weirdly, this is another scenario where we don't see any adult heads in this one. We're back to the adults cut off at the shoulders scenarios.
I would guess maybe, I don't know a ton
Mhm.
about animation production, but I would guess maybe each of these segments was just handled by a different storyboarder.
That's possible. And maybe we'll see it sort of, come together into one consistent style over time. But obviously,
Yeah.
we know this show was rushed in the first 6 months or whatever.
True.
So maybe we'll see that. Like, eventually they're like, hey, yeah, by the way, we don't really want to see humans on this show. So let's stop that. This is one of my wrote down, Rolf kind of sucks. Because after
Aw.
the Olympics fantasy is when he suggests that Kermit could be a dog catcher. But not a dog catcher, a dog who's playing baseball. And he just puts on a catcher's mask. He's like, is this anything?
He doesn't suck. He's just trying to contribute.
I mean, we're already getting the version of Rolf like the montage in 2011 where everyone else gets a special segment and Rolf's
Yeah.
just, and what about me? And they're like, yeah, whatever. Animal, your turn for a fantasy segment.
Well, they set him up for that in the Muppet movie, when he's
Hmm.
like, I'm Rolf, I'm a dog, I play piano at them. Never mind. That was the beginning of the end for him.
Yeah. But then we get Animal's interesting fantasy that is all drawn in crayon like a 3-year-old would draw. And I
Yeah.
really like that choice.
Me too. I think looking into Animal's twisted mind was fun.
Yes.
A little scary. Like, it does feel like something bad could happen at any moment to me. But
Yeah, he's imagining Kermit being an ice cream man, and it's all drawn like in childhood style.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that's something that keeps up. But it could also be menacing where he could just like draw a box around you with a crayon and then you're trapped in his nightmare forever.
in his mind, yeah. He's like the Joker. I also don't like Kermit seemed like he was having a lot of fun being an ice cream man. I don't really know what his
yeah.
issue there was.
Everything. I think everyone else seemed like they were like, you can't be an ice cream man, dude.
They're very judgmental about what job you can have, the babies are.
Well, especially when it's opened up of like, Kermit, you can be anything. What do you want to be? And the moment he actually makes any decisions, they're like, oh, not that
Oh.
though.
Ew.
They even sing. The next thing that happens is they sing a song called It's Up to You. Be what you want to be.
Yep.
And this was the moment that I looked up how many more episodes we have to watch. Because it's just a song listing a bunch of jobs. We see Piggy in an unfortunate Native American headdress at one point,
Oh, yeah. Sure.
which apparently is a job. Maybe they want to join the village people.
The village people.
Yeah.
Sure.
But that is
I
when
thought this was kind of cute, honestly.
I think it just was. I think the episode set me up to a point where I was already bored, and this song did nothing to pull me back out of that.
Oh, yeah. This show's boring.
But not all the time, which is like the tricky thing is like half an episode will be interesting. They'll put out weird concepts, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, but we still have half an episode to go. But Kermit decides he wants to be a taxi driver for some reason, which I don't even think is mentioned in the song.
Not at all.
Piggy is immediately upset that he won't be rich, and everyone else is disappointed that he chose a boring job.
Yeah, at the end of the song called It's Up to You, he says, this is the thing this is a choice I make. And they all immediately say, oh,
We didn't think he'd
Not
make such a
that,
boring choice.
yeah.
Even Gonzo, who feels like maybe he would be into the weird idea
You
of
would
like,
love to be a taxi driver,
Yeah.
I feel like. Imagine all the weirdos you would get to drive around.
but Kermit,
And also, there's nothing wrong with being a taxi driver.
not at all. And Kermit shows them that maybe a bit misguided. His idea of a taxi driver, though, is he could drive astronauts to space.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work, Kermit. You're not gonna make a $250,000 fee.
It costs way more than that to go to the moon.
That also, maybe not for a car. Once you get propelled,
I mean,
I don't know.
I feel like it's going to cost way more than that to make a car go to the moon.
That's probably true.
When they get to leave, it's time to leave the moon because they dropped off the astronaut and Piggy's the smartest Muppet by far, I want to point out.
Yeah.
Piggy always comes in with the good questions and is like, I don't think we're going to find anybody here to pick up for like the return fare.
Yeah.
But that is when
But
E.T.
she's always wrong, too. 'cause
She is
E.T.'s
usually
there.
wrong, but she's asking the right questions.
Yeah.
But E.T. shows up off screen. We don't see a drawing of E.T. We don't see live E.T. We just see...
We see his warm glow of his heart, I assume.
Yeah, and just says, home, please. And I think it's Gonzo says, I thought you were going to phone home. And he says, line was busy.
Insane.
But it helps everyone decide that they now want to be taxi drivers because they can hang out with E.T.
We're going to get to give E.T. a ride? Hell yeah.
And really, Scooter is the only one who kind of gets what he wanted. He wanted to be an
he gets
astronaut.
to be an astronaut. Yeah, he gets to experience it. Also, this is where Crazy Taxi got the idea.
I'm going to push back on that one. But then it's time for Close Encounters of the Frog Kind, the November 10th, 1984 episode. And beginning this episode is Scooter and Skeeter opening their own bank. The first national Muppet bank, Skeeter says. And I like Scooter and Skeeter sort of being the entrepreneurs of the Muppets. I feel like it's much more Skeeter than Scooter running the show here.
Yeah, that makes sense. They'd both be like Musk crypto people, I feel like.
Yeah, but the problem is Skeeter's the one who invests early and makes the money. And then Scooter is like, you know what? You've convinced me. I'm going to get on board right as the stock tanks.
You're right. That's why she's not around anymore.
Yeah.
She's too rich to hang out with those losers. I also could picture her being like a TikTok health influencer of some sort, you know? Like she would invent her own line of like nootropics or something.
But Peggy withdraws a cupcake from the bank. Rolf deposits a bone. This is when he says, the only animal richer than me is Morris the cat. And I said, who?
I assumed it was a cat who inherited a millionaire's money or something.
Yeah, or
No,
maybe they wanted to say Garfield and they couldn't or something.
And they went with Morris. And you're just supposed to connect the dots yourself.
Yeah, like I feel like he could have said somebody more famous, like Lassie or Garfield or something. Snoopy?
Lassie would have been a much, much better pull. Snoopy would have been great. Those are both dogs, which helps.
Yeah. He could have said, the only dog richer than me is Snoopy. I'd be like, good one, Rolf. But instead, he picks Morris the cat, who is the mascot for 9 Lives brand cat food.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like... I'm sure there must have been Morris the Cat commercials at the time, but Morris the Cat started in 1969.
I mean, Rolf was around. Rolf was the Purina dog.
For sure.
So maybe he felt some sense of competition of the Purina dog versus the 9 Lives cat.
Are you suggesting that the Muppet Babies somehow have the memories of the older but previous versions of the Muppets?
I am not.
Because I don't think you're wrong, actually.
Well, I think I am, if that's what I think. But I don't think it's what I think.
But yeah, Morris the Cat was a cat in commercials for 9 Lives cat food. And he ran for president in 1988.
Voiced by John Irwin, Morris the Cat was. Best known for voicing He-Man and Morris the Cat.
Oh, wow. Big career. Morris also ran for president in 1992.
Wow.
So
you gotta learn when to give up, Morris.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
Maybe try 2024. Bring it back.
Let's get Morris back. I think he's the only one who can turn our country around. Make America Morris again.
Oh, no. Mama.
9 Lives. To hit me up. I'll sell you this idea. I'll sell it to you for $2 million.
Oh, that's much higher than I thought you were going to say. But
they have $2 million. And for an idea this good, you know who to call. Here's my phone number. 406.
Well, then Gonzo comes in as the lone weirdo to rob the Muppet Bank with his horse, which is just animal.
Continuing the tradition of Gonzo playing the bad guy that he has done in the Muppet Show.
Like Darth Nader.
Yeah, it makes more sense here, too, because he is kind of like on the fringes of baby society in a way.
Sheriff Kermit catches up to him, and we set up for a duel between Sheriff Kermit and the lone weirdo. And as we set up for that duel, we see Kermit's Muppet movie legs.
Adult feet.
In his cowboy boots, stepping out for his duel at the end of the Muppet movie. Mm-hmm. Which is a weird choice, and apparently something that would get cut in later airings of this episode.
It's simultaneously a choice that makes perfect sense, but also one of the weirdest choices they could have made.
But their duel, thankfully, is not murdering each other with guns, because Sheriff Kermit is the fastest gum in the West, and they are blowing bubbles to see who can blow the bubble the fastest.
Not bad, not bad. It's pretty cute.
Yeah. Except it leads to one of the weirdest lines that I can't explain in this entire series we've watched so far. After the duel, Gonzo gets a cupcake, and he eats the cupcake. and it gets all over his face. And Piggy's like, "Yeah, you've got some frosting on your face." And he turns to the camera, and he says the line, "I blow a neat bubble, but I'm real messy with icing." That's not a joke.
You know, it's something that maybe looks funny when you write it down in a script.
I've got it written down here in my notes, and I can tell you, it don't.
It doesn't look funny.
I blow a neat bubble, but I'm real messy with icing is nothing.
They had this man locked in a room writing every episode of the Muppets Babies, okay? He's getting a little stir crazy. This is between his rations. He was really hungry.
And then Nanny comes in to drop a bomb on the Muppets here and says, "Guess what? Kermit's an uncle."
She's so casual with everything, really. She's not doing well for these babies, in my opinion.
No.
She didn't even explain what it means to be an uncle.
No, thankfully the other Muppets know, because not everyone seems to. Because Nanny brings in Robin the Tadpole in a fish bowl. He's got a cute little crib and beach ball for some reason in his fish bowl.
Very strange.
And just says...
And not a floating beach ball either. It's sunk to the bottom of the bowl.
It's probably just like a fish tank, made of stone kind of thing.
Yeah.
It says, "Take good care of him. He's very young and very delicate. Bye."
See you later. Don't leave him there. He's in a glass bowl and he needs water. And the first thing they do is take him out of it.
I did look up. Tadpoles can apparently survive potentially up to 5 days without water.
Oh, he's fine.
So he's fine.
And he's got arms, so he's not quite a tadpole.
He's like almost a pollywog. Is that a thing?
Yep. It is in Pokemon.
It is also in Gullah Gullah Island.
And is also in real life. Confirming.
I mean, yes,
now.
to be fair, there are also real pollywogs, I think. Well, Nanny does leave Robin alone with the kids, and Kermit is immediately upset by this, saying, "I didn't ask to be an uncle." And Skeeter thankfully explains to him, "No one asks to be an uncle. Your big sister had babies, and that makes you an uncle."
Some weirdo out there has probably asked to be an uncle.
Hey sis, can I be your uncle, please? I love that Skeeter knows more about Kermit's family than Kermit does.
The concept of baby Kermit having a big sister that had babies is challenging to me. I'm not sure why, but I guess the first question it brings up is, why doesn't he live with her?
I mean, sounds like she's got a bunch of kids.
That's true.
It sounds like...
Where's all the rest of them?
That's a good question. Why only drop off one?
Yeah.
Because they do say your big sister had babies, and that makes you an uncle. And then he references having nieces and nephews.
Yes.
So he assumes there must be a ton of these tadpoles in a bunch of different bowls, maybe? And we learn that Robin does not really talk in this episode, but he can think talk, and we can understand him. And this is the moment that I realized Russi Taylor also voiced Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Oh, yeah.
Because Robin sounds exactly like Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Yeah, you're right.
And there's been moments where I've been listening to Gonzo and been like, something about Gonzo's voice sounds familiar, and I just couldn't place it. And now I'm realizing it's because sometimes he slips into a voice that sounds a little bit like Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
He's got a Susan of Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
But if you go back and listen to Robin, there is zero difference between Robin's voice and a Huey, Dewey, and Louie voice.
I feel like I haven't heard DuckTales, Huey, Dewey, and Louie for a long time. I'll have to go check that out. Also, by the end of the episode, Robin is talking and not just think talking.
Well, but it's all mumbles.
Yeah,
no one else but animals
there's
can
a couple
understand
times
him.
where when he's talking, he talks once, and then there's a couple times where he's like, if this is what's being grown-ups like, I don't want to grow up. His mouth's moving then.
But does anyone understand him? Are they reacting
Just
to him?
Just us. But one time he does the Garfield think talk. Then the rest of the time he just does the talk because people who made the show don't care.
Well, and also there's a lot of moments, I don't remember if it was in this episode or there are other ones, there's a lot of moments in these episodes where there's a lot of mouths moving that words aren't lining up to. I think it was most notably in the Table for One song. I don't know if there was maybe some late lyric changes or something to that song, because throughout that entire song, there's a lot of moments where characters' mouths are moving and they're dancing around and they aren't saying anything. This is when Piggy drops the thing on Kermit of, someday we'll have our own little tadpoles.
Also, deeply challenging thought.
Yeah, I don't think that's how tadpoles work.
No. And I guess you could, because in Muppet's Christmas Carol, you do have 2 frog babies.
But they also have 2
3
pig
even,
babies.
maybe. 2 pig babies too. So I don't know what's gonna happen, Piggy. But you sound like you're prepared for it. Also, I like how Robin spits on Fozzie because his joke's so bad.
Yeah, he just like rears back and spits a whole mouthful of water. This is when Piggy decides to read Piggy in Wonderland to Robin. And yeah, we get to see a lot of very cute character designs in a story that's overall kind of dull.
And Scooter and Skeeter are so annoying in this one, too.
You're not wrong. Rolf, also quite annoying. But this is when also Fozzie cracks a joke and nobody likes it. And so then he asks us, the audience, if we like the joke. And a tomato gets thrown at him from behind the screen.
It hits the screen, yeah. Taking away my agency. What if I did like the joke?
Well, apparently you're not allowed to. But Fozzie says to us, the audience watching, nobody's forcing you to watch, you know. Little did he know. Commitment would be a thing, and I would make Sam watch this.
Yeah, Matt's forcing me, and the shadowy government agent is forcing Matt.
And then, unfortunately, we do meet Skeeter D and Scooter Dumb, who then argue for about 25 minutes, it felt like, about who's going to be the one that's called Dumb. And they kind of go off the rails and don't even, like, they forget about the dumb part of the name, and they just start insulting each other in the way that actual 4-year-olds would. Eventually, though, we move on and we meet what we think at first is Humpty Dumpty, but turns out to be Rolfie Wolfie.
Yeah, and I was always scared that I was about to see Rolf shatter and his guts come
in half.
out. Yeah.
But no,
Is Humpty Dumpty in Alice in Wonderland?
I don't think, at least, I mean, not in the Disney movie. Perhaps in the book. Or again, they had good Alice in Wonderland roles for everyone and said, oh shit, Rolf's here too. Damn it, we forgot about Rolf again.
He's in it.
Humpty Dumpty's in there?
He's in the book.
We get to see Beaker as the March Hare and Bunsen as the Mad Hatter. It's their only contribution to this episode is
They're
looking
here
cute.
Too. We needed more guys.
Gonzo is a flying monkey from Wizard of Oz.
I thought he was maybe the what's that poem in the Wizard of Oz with the Babadook?
Jabberwocky from Alice in Wonderland.
Yes, I think he was maybe the Jabberwocky.
Okay.
Maybe.
But this is the terrifying moment when Animal, his giant hand, reaches down and grabs Robin.
He actually opens reality and reaches in through the hole in the universe.
Yeah, he breaks the scale of everything. He is just a giant god hand reaching down from the heavens and pulls Robin out. And this is the moment where I thought Robin is in actual danger.
Yeah, I think in the first time we talked about Muppet Babies, you were like, oh, Animal seems legitimately threatening. And I was kind of like, all right, whatever you say. But then this moment, he really was. And all the babies were like, oh my God, we have to save Robin.
He's very easily squished.
Yeah.
You can squish Robin, no problem.
His membrane's so thin.
Just pop, like a little gusher.
Yeah, and he ate a soccer ball earlier.
He did.
Robin's much smaller than a soccer ball.
I put in my notes, is Animal gonna eat Robin in the real world?
Yeah.
Like, not even in the fantasy, in their actual real nursery. Is the rest of this episode gonna be that they have to get Robin out of Animal? Thankfully, I guess, Animal throws Robin after their little brief baby chat.
Yeah, it's like, they're friends. And then Animal just whoop right off the top of the bookshelf.
Yeah, Robin makes Animal laugh. It seems like he tells him a joke. And Animal just tosses him off, and Robin bounces all around off of all the Muppets.
And this is the point for me where the episode becomes far too long.
Well, don't worry, Sam, because we've got a song to get to called Practice Makes Perfect. A very loose premise. Started when Skeeter all of a sudden decides to try and teach Robin to do a headstand, because now the episode's about, helping Robin be something or do something.
Teaching babies stuff? Yeah.
Wild premise rather than just like, trying to take care of him by reading him a story. They're now like, well, let's teach him things in the last 5 minutes of this episode. He can do a headstand, and then he tries to play piano, and Rolf wants to teach him, but it turns out he's not very good at piano. So which leads to the song of like, yeah, well, he just needs to practice, and maybe he can be a piano player one day. Skeeter then becomes the voice of reason and realizes we should probably get Robin back to his bowl.
Yeah, and she even says like before Nanny gets mad.
Yeah.
So he's not supposed to be out of the bowl.
No.
And they know this.
Yeah. They know they have messed up. And they try to grab him. This is when he escapes in the toy car that Sam mentioned earlier and gets in a
horrible car accident.
Yes.
He flips the car.
He's a baby, Sam. He can't drive a car.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, but he jumps into our late in the episode Gotta Stretch for Time fantasy of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, where they go in under the ocean and they see a creepy submarine and it captures them, and there's a creepy diver man voiced by Frank Welker, and that's it, kind of.
And then an octopus gets them.
Yeah,
and then
but it's a
they are
blanket.
Like, oh, let's stop imagining now. The episode's over.
Yep. And Nanny says it's time for Robin to go, but notably says the next time Robin comes over, he should be big enough to come out of his bowl and play.
Nanny's a fucking liar.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I think they decide he's too cute. We can sell toys to this guy if we keep him in his bowl.
But he is in the new Muppet Babies.
Yeah, he walks around.
And he is
I think he is a polywog.
And he is walking around in that. Yep. Honestly, this show is making me more excited to watch the new Muppet Babies.
Oh, interesting.
Because I think it'll be good. Like, I'm anticipating it being good, you know?
Yeah.
Like, in at least like a way that it's trying to help children in some capacity.
I can also tell you, Sam, I'm pretty sure they do 11-minute episodes.
Oh. Mwah.
Yeah. So they know when to get in and get out. But that is it for Muppet Babies this week, Sam, because now it's time for our Muppet of the Week. This week's Muppet of the Week. You know, one episode, long ago, I said, if we're ever scraping the bottom of the barrel for Muppets of the Week, we might do Gladys. And guess what, folks? There are not a lot of Muppets left that we haven't talked about that we've met already. So it's Gladys this time.
I'm shocked we haven't done Gladys. She makes such a big impression when you first meet her because she's so horrifying.
But she's around for such a little time. I think at the time we sort of were like, well, this is all we need to know about Gladys. We don't even need to talk about her again. And turns out we ran out of Muppets. So we are here to talk about Gladys, the cafeteria lady who made a big impact in her 7 episodes of the Muppet Show that she was in. You know, if you've seen Gladys, you haven't forgotten Gladys. But if you haven't seen Gladys, she wears a giant necklace with her name on it. She's got big, bushy gray hair that covers her eyes. But she does have bejeweled cat eye glasses and a very large, prominent set of teeth and lips. She's upsetting to look at, some would say.
Yeah, one of the most upsetting Muppets. Her hair really is disgusting.
She feels like a bit of a precursor to Penny in Muppets Mayhem.
Oh, yeah.
Like Penny is a nicer character in both design and characterization, but I feel like this is sort of in that realm of character. Gladys debuted in 1978 and only did 7 episodes in the first half of the 3rd season of The Muppet Show. Did also have a small cameo in the Muppet movie, but doesn't not really a character in that. And will show up in some of the comic books later on when they're set at the Muppet Show theater. Gladys's performer was Richard Hunt, the man who performs all Gladyses, both cow and cafeteria lady alike.
Have we talked about Gladys the cow ever?
We have not. We haven't delved into a lot of Sesame Street Muppets just because we've only done a handful of Sesame Street episodes.
Right.
But I'm sure we'll talk about Gladys the cow at some point, because Gladys the cow, much better than Gladys this Muppet.
I love Gladys the cow.
But some other fun facts about this Gladys. The Gladys puppet will apparently be altered at some point to appear younger and will be recycled to play a mother in The Ghost of Fafner Hall. So I'm not sure if...
That's one that people in the chat keep warning us about.
Yeah, I think people just say it's boring, but I know nothing about it. So I'm very curious to see this weird late 80s Muppet show about music that doesn't star any real Muppets. In the Muppet Show lore, Gladys was replaced by Winnie, a bird cafeteria lady who only lasted 2 episodes.
Yeah, and that was weird, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, because especially in one of those episodes, she's just like a background dancer. And then in another episode, she actually has a full-on character where she's working with the Swedish chef, and we never see her again.
Yeah. Maybe they ate her because she is a turkey.
It was Thanksgiving time, and they were like, well,
yeah,
got a giant bird over here. According to the Muppet Character Encyclopedia, the canteen was closed after one too many cases of food poisoning.
I never liked the canteen concept on the Muppet Show, I don't think.
Well, I think they're in agreement with you. It doesn't seem like it, obviously it didn't stick around very long.
Just seems like too low rent of production for them to have had a full kitchen, you know?
Well, and it also feels a little bit like a an unnecessary thing you're adding to the format. Sort of like when we talk about Fraggle Rock, where it's like, okay, you need to have a Gorg and a trash heap and a song and a doozer, and it's like, okay, you have 3 minutes left for your story. It's like, shit.
Yeah. They have really pared that down though in Fraggle.
Yeah,
Rock.
they don't feel as obliged to include everything in every episode anymore. And the last fun fact in the character encyclopedia about Gladys is that apparently her name used to be Sally, but she changed her name after she found a good deal on a necklace.
That's kind of funny. That would have been a funny joke in the show.
Yeah, if that was an actual joke. But instead, it's just Craig Shemin coming up with a good joke for the character encyclopedia. But that is obviously all there is to know about Gladys, the cafeteria lady, who we will probably never see again.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a reason that Gladys would ever come out of retirement.
Unless Muppet Disney Plus series get really popular and they're just like, and they're like the Book of Gladys. We have to. It's time.
I think
We've done everyone else.
If they ever did a full reboot of the Muppet Show, I think it would be the most Easter egg filled show to exist in the world of Muppets. And I'm sure they would bring back Pops and Gladys and all those characters that have sort of went by the wayside. Yeah. But yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon. And I don't see Gladys returning in the, she'd be like maybe a third season thought of like, oh yeah, I guess we could bring her back. But what would you rate Gladys the cafeteria lady?
What was the late Zelda? Hilda? Which one made the clothes?
Hilda.
She seems just like a poor Hilda replacement to me, and I liked Hilda. I think she should have stuck around because that's a more sensical character for the Muppet Show. And when I look at Gladys, I just think, where's Hilda? So I'm going to give Gladys a 3.5. Don't like her.
Well, I think I like Gladys more than the average Muppet Show watcher, but she still only gets a 4 from me.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't think she's used very well, but I think she could be potentially have weird little lines she could have dropped of what she does on the weekends or like her life that she's leading outside the Muppet Show. That I think she probably has the most interesting social life outside of the Muppet Show.
That's true. She doesn't need those guys.
No.
Not the way the rest of them need each other.
Or she's got 8 kids.
Oh, she's like Carla from Cheers.
Sam, save brain.
That makes sense.
I was going to say like Rhea Perlman.
Yeah. That's where Rhea Perlman got the idea to be Rhea Perlman.
That means it's time to ask you, Sam, what non-Muppets things did you enjoy watching this week?
We just finished Miss Maisel. You never watched that? Is that right?
Mm-mm.
I really like that show. The season finale was this last season. And I think it was like really good the whole way through. It has like Mad Men plus Gilmore Girls. That's what it is.
Right.
Which, and it's like, I don't know. It's just touching and the production design is good and the costumes are really great. The characters are all lovable. And we just rewatched Gilmore Girls pretty recently too. And it doesn't fall into it doesn't get bad at the end.
Well, because the creator stayed on the show until the end.
Because the creator stayed on the show. But even A Year in the Life wasn't that good. So Miss Maisel, liked it. Great show, in my opinion. I've never looked up what anybody else thinks of Miss Maisel. I don't care to. I enjoy the show.
I think that's the healthiest way to consume any media is just to go, I liked this or I didn't like this and not read what anybody else says. Because sometimes
Do you find yourself doing that more and more in your old age?
Which way? Which direction?
The good way, the healthy way.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like in the past few years, I feel like I honestly think Rise of Skywalker was like a tipping point in my life as far as needing to read other people's thoughts on movies in general and the whole toxic Star Wars fandom that has existed for the past, 7-8 years since Force Awakens started coming out. I think that really is what pushed me into the I don't care what anybody else thinks of this really, aside from my friends that I like talking to about things.
Yeah.
And so, I very rarely do I used to go looking after I would go watch a movie. I would watch Interstellar or whatever like that. And I would go on social media and be like, what does everyone else think about Interstellar? And I would let that shape the way I thought about it sometimes to be like, well, maybe they're right. Maybe that part was not that good, even though I really enjoyed it when I saw it.
Yeah.
But now I just watch it and I walk away and go, I enjoyed that. I'll put it on Letterboxd and walk away.
One thing that sounds counterintuitive is that I've been looking at Reddit more
Oh, God.
ever since Twitter became horrible. But Reddit, you can actually find people who are like discussing the movie, not in terms of like if it was good or not, but like when Asteroid City came out, I like looked up like what's people's
going on?
interpretations of this movie. Yeah, what is your interpretation of this movie? What's something I might have missed? And there is like much more focused, like, oh yeah, this is a reference to this piece of writing. This
Yeah.
is whatever.
For me,
So that kind of stuff I like. I like to read a little bit of theory and a little bit of criticism, but I think Star Wars kind of messed me up too because I really love The Last Jedi.
mhm.
And when that came out, everybody was like, oh, horrible.
Yeah.
And then you see companies react to it, especially
Yeah.
where it's like, we're going to change everything we're doing because some people who are loud didn't like this. It's just like, bleh.
Yeah.
You don't need that.
No, I think for me that the version of that is video essays on YouTube. Like,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a guy like called Thomas Flight on YouTube who does really good video essays about movies, and yeah, like Asteroid City is one of those that I watched 2 or 3 different video essays about after I watched it to get my like brain around what was going on.
Yeah.
I still don't think it's there. I still don't think I understand exactly. I think I need to watch a movie like 3 more times.
I really think that is one where you can bring a certain amount of your own thing to it too. And maybe there isn't a right answer to it.
That's the thing is I think it's hard to go into a movie and accept that like, hey, much like Muppets, there's not really like, you can't go from A to B to C to D here. Like there is some gray area that you just kind of have to accept is like, he's kind of fucking with you.
It's all real and none of it's real.
Right.
And
there's parts where things cross over in ways where I'm like, wait, but what does that mean?
yeah.
Who knows?
Anyway, how about you? I think I have an idea of what you're going to say.
Well, I've been playing a lot more Tears of the Kingdom, for one thing.
Ooh, me too. Yeah, go ahead.
That has been a delight to finally be able to dive into. And I both like want to, much like I felt with Breath of the Wild, I never want to stop playing the game. I just want to keep playing it forever and keep doing all the side things. But I'm also feeling myself wanting to be like, yeah, but I'm going to follow the main story for a while. I want to really get a vibe of what's going on in this world. And then maybe I'll come back and start doing more side things. For right now, like I'll run into a random guy on a trail and I'm like, not you, not right now.
I can't do this.
I don't care why
now.
you can't hold up a sign. I got a princess to save.
Oh, that sign guy. I can't. There's something in my brain that's like, you have to help the sign guy. If you walk away and you know that the sign guy is standing
See, the problem
there,
is I tried to help him like twice and it failed both times. And I was like, I can't spend my day doing this.
You're on your own, my friend. I was playing it last night and I walked into one of the stables and I walked up to that big bulletin board looking thing on the wall. Do you know what I'm talking about? And I clicked it and it was like, oh, I'm looking for pictures. Actually, everybody at every stable is looking for pictures. And I was like, motherfucker, how many different goddamn things am I going to have to go and do in every single different place?
Yeah. Like it's, there's some things in the first little town you end up in that if you don't talk to some people in that town enough times, you're going to be missing out on a big part, like, you know, getting the camera in the game, for instance. And like, it'd be very easy to go off and start your journey and be like, man, I wish I had my camera, or I wish I could do this. And it's like, yeah, because you haven't talked to that one person in your little town first.
You haven't talked to Robbie 3 times. Yeah.
Anyway. But yes, I also saw this weekend, or I guess before we record this, obviously, I saw Oppenheimer and Barbie.
Oh, you saw both of them?
I've seen both of them at this point. And you have seen,
I'm seeing them
you've seen
tomorrow.
neither, correct?
No, neither.
All right, then I won't say anything about them, but I will say I enjoyed both of them immensely.
Okay, we'll have a big Oppenheimer Barbie talk next time.
Yes.
I'm very excited to see Barbie. Barbie is a movie that I have not read a single thing about.
That is the right
I
way
feel like
to do it.
It's gonna be weirder than I'm expecting it to be and like surprising. But
Yes. I will say there was multiple times during our chat today that there were specific things that we talked about that I wanted to say, ooh, like in the Barbie
Just
movie,
like Barbie.
or
damn.
oh, that person might also be in Barbie, or hey. And so there's been like 4 little Easter eggs that accidentally happened during this episode that could relate to the Barbie movie.
Morris the cat.
I wish. So yes, we will, talk about Oppenheimer and Barbie sometime in the future. So before we go, we want to let you know that next time, guess what? More Muppet Babies. We'll be watching episodes 10, 11, 12, and 13, just to finish out the season there. We're going to add a 4th episode in. And those are the episodes titled Gonzo's Video Show, Fun Park Fantasies, from a galaxy far, far away,
Huh?
and good, clean fun. And we'll be joined by our very own Mr. Jenkins, Nick Jenkins.
He's the guy who's going to come take him away. Nick has baby Fozzie in his house.
So we're going to ask him to free him. He'll be joining us to discuss those 4 episodes. Nick is a little bit older than us, so he has clearer memories of watching Muppet Babies when it was airing.
Yeah.
So
He's one of those old guys we were talking about earlier.
sure, I'll let you say that. And again, if you want to watch these Muppet Babies episodes that we are watching, they are on archive.org. They are not released anywhere officially. So we will be posting the links, on all the social medias, whatever they're called, wherever we are. You can follow us on those things. We're there.
You mean X.
Follow us on X. Well, before we get out of here, we need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Go to commitmentstuff.com if you want to pick up some commitment merch. You can also email us at mail@commitment.com if you want to, just talk about Muppets, or, you don't want to use one of those terrible social media sites, or you just want to send us some links to some unseen Muppet things that you may have found.
And you can call me at
Nope, you can
406.
follow us on the internet anywhere at Commitment Pod, and you can follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.